Welcome to my review of Gamescom, an event that I think delivered on its promise with some big announcement and clear directions evident. First, let's start with Microsoft, who kicked off proceedings with Assassin's Creed Unity. And other than a nice PC trailer, it was a very subdued showing and almost expressed confidence in the show content that it was almost not needed. We got a visual representation of the big remaining 2014 releases showing this, Destiny, Ori and the Blind Forest, which I've classed as a Child of Light meets Peggle from this showing. Visually very strong and artistic, but I need to see more as the actual gameplay was not enough for me at this point and not quite what I expected, but early days to judge. The list also included GTA 5, which had the same PS3 360 character transfer available to X1 users, and on a side note, Take-Two have said that this game will exceed all expectations of it on now-gen machines and PC. A bold statement, but one that I think we need to take as true from the guys and girls at Rockstar. Forza Horizon 2, which I'll mention later in the video, and also the expected FIFA 15, which also had the expected bundle, which was a big push, with two other games having their own bundle announced. Sunset Overdrive receives a cool white X1 with a digital copy of the game and a white pad, all for the same £349, and then the big one, the Advanced Warfare Pack with styled console and pad complete with in-game sound effects, yeah I know, and a 1TB drive, which is double the drive, so maybe there's an option to upgrade the internal drive after all. We shall see. The pack looked good, but the game looks great, just more expensive at £429, but comes with a new Day Zero digital copy, which is about time some type of incentive was given on digital games, which this is one, and prices needs to be another. We had a solid demo of the single player with a level called Collapse set on a bridge, which does not need much explanation. With you chasing down a rogue white van man after you clip your mirror, it all turns sour very quickly. Once the inevitable crash happens, it is bullet meets body action as expected, with a jetpack and exoskeleton powers in effect. We see precise aiming, homing grenades, infrared guns and other such high-tech action. Again, the lovely clear HUD is evident, which I really like, allowing you an uncluttered view of the action and allowing you to enjoy the visual splendour. And this game is visually splendid, with the in-game cutscenes allowing seamless movement from gameplay to scene and back. These are filled with extra post-processing effects, from great use of DOF, per object motion blur, chromatic aberration, to deliver a believable feel to the action. Again, we see great facial animation and mocapped actors providing the action in game. Then the drones again show up and bring the demo to an end by collapsing the bridge, all played out in a first-person cutscene that again shows off the fidelity of this game. The frame rate looked good, but only having access to a 30 FPS video, any drops would not really show up very well on this video, and the motion blur is very effective, which does hide a lot of the issues you would see. It looks to be a 900p or thereabouts resolution on an X1, and it certainly proves its credentials over Ghost, and feels worthy of being on a now-gen machine. I will cover more on this game as soon as I can or have more. Once through this big demo, we moved on to other areas, and the elephant in the room that I will come to later. Phil Harrison stood up and brought us the big word of the Microsoft show. Exclusive! We had Ori and the Blind Forest, Super Hot, Smite and many other Idea Xbox indie games that all are exclusive or first on console with Xbox One. Most will be on PC also and come to PS4 later. One such game in the exclusive shroud that is X1 only was Fable. Again showing nothing more than from E3 other than a place to announce the Xbox, the October beta, so release date for 2015 is still forthcoming. I have signed up for the beta, so I'll bring you a video and hands-on with that as soon as I can around the October the 16th. As it stands, it needs to convince, I feel, and there just seems to be not much buzz about this game, exclusive or not. Also in this arena was the brand new IP and first showing of Quantum Break from Remedy, and the grimacing face of Sam Lake. The game was promised to be a big game from Microsoft and a real visual showcase, and from the team at Remedy this was not a hard promise to believe. Well, it delivered on that for sure. And even though the gameplay did not astound in the same way, it still looked like a solid and new take on the tried and trusted third-person shooter and the bullet time mechanic that Remedy invented, so we can cut them some slack. Lighting and scenery all looked very solid, with great animation and character detail. Thanks to Gamerside here for some of the high quality footage I'm showing. The texture details were very high, with the leather patches on Sam's jacket being great along with the bricks, and the overall high quality in the shadows are in effect. Also of note is the very broad and solid physics in the game. Wood breaks, jumps when shot, boxes shudder when banged up against, even frozen time state, the floating debris like drinks or Molotov cocktails are pushed aside. The amount of effects that happen in real time and the sheer particle and post-processing effects work happening is very impressive. Floorboards distort, objects are distorted in segments, slow motion distortion and explosions are evident. Gunshots on enemies that have found a technical solution to the native time power that Jack has distort, stretch and flicker in real time, showcasing that Remedy has certainly got to grips with the X1 and its architecture. With it seemingly running at 1080p, this is even more impressive, with superb character detail on faces and animation, and the demo was again full of one of my favourite aspects of this new gen: seamless cutscene gameplay blending. It is still in development, so little pop-ups are still in there. The minor flick here from cutscene back to game, his placement as he drops down after the ladder, and disappearing stains, which all go to show very much in a game in the midst of development and lots of work to get this demo up to scratch for the event. And a great demo it was. All in all, Quantum Break certainly presented itself well enough to give the X1 a possible system seller, and certainly gave Microsoft some armour in the graphical fight with Sony. I will bring more on this as soon as I can. Lastly, the last 2014 game and exclusive was the Halo Master Chief Collection, which again showed off some great multiplayer and some small single player action from Halo 2. But of most concern was the Halo 5 footage, which we got a small glimpse, again confirming the 60 FPS trend from the collection being carried over to Halo 5, but from the small snippets shown, as you see here, it is not at present close to a 1080 display. But this is very early at this point. I would imagine that it will improve a lot nearer the time, and maybe even quite a lot by the December beta. Again, they milked the Halo franchise a little bit in my opinion, too much, with the entire Halo channel being brought to X1 this autumn, complete with the Nightfall TV show, and other aspects of the Halo world. A nice idea, but all seems a lost cause, as Microsoft have already given up on the TV aspirations of the Xbox One and cancelled the studio and the plan. So this seems to be the last fragment of this, along with the TV show of Quantum Break, to accompany the game's launch. It does look like a solid collection, and one I'm sure will sell well and be a big hit for Microsoft, which makes the lack of an X1 pack for this a strange omission, proving that not all things can be predicted as easily. Evolve had an exciting and exuberant esports shown with a frantic game in action.
Party, he is at full armor there though, and here the hunters.
And this was preceded by the announcement of the X1 exclusive open beta in January before the game's launch in February. Again, a month that seems to be nearly achieving a new big game release every day of its existence. Some games are going to go very hungry for sure. Outside of this, we had the big showing of Forza Horizon 2, which again showed very well and had a very concise and clear video demonstrating its setup and huge array of over 200 cars. Visually very solid as before, with the weather again being shown, but my previous concerns on this seem to be looking more and more likely, as the rain happens at the same point each lap, so less dynamic and more like a triggered fixed set piece. A feature I hope I am wrong about, and as we have to see more yet. It showed off the open aspect of the racing, with your own routes being an option. Now, it's not open world like The Crew. On a side note, a game that has now had a last gen 360 version announced. Surprising, since the original line from Ubi was this was only possible on now gen machines. Maybe those lack of interest in pre-orders I mentioned in my last video have played a part. The game never seemed to be out of the scope for me on a last gen machine, and I still think this will be a franchise that does not seem to have any legs. But again, nothing is set in stone. Anyway, back to Forza and the open world. Although far more limited than The Crew, it does seem to have a reasonable scope to it. The engine looked good, with great daytime lighting and draw distance, with only small signs of popping and draw distance being evident, like the reflections here. Again, looks to be a solid racer for the Christmas lineup. Now we come to the elephant I mentioned earlier, and an announcement that has divided opinion and caused quite a stir in the industry and gamers, with petitions for both the PC and PS4 versions, as well as people petitioning for X1 exclusives. Now, firstly, my take on this, and my first giveaway from the actual announcement, was the Holiday 2015 being linked so intricately with the announcement. This is a timed exclusive, on the lines of GTA 4 single player and the Ballad of Gay Tony, etc. And Phil Spencer has now come out and said that they have not bought the IP and Square can do what they want after the deal. There's just no date on the deal, but I would imagine 6 to 12 months. This is a strange event, not in the practice, as Microsoft have the checkbook to do this, but from Square, who basically took the money and ran. Which, for a rebooted franchise that sold over 3 million on last gen, a figure Square themselves said was a poor seller and below expectations. Then we had a 70-30 split from the PS4 and X1 versions of the Definitive Edition released this year. They have effectively removed that 70+% market and the PC sales on top of that, in place of a cash injection up front. Again, I don't know the reasons and cash flow of Square Enix, but it does strike me as a backward step. From Microsoft's point of view, it makes perfect sense. Uncharted 4 is the big Sony Christmas release of 2015, and Microsoft have nothing to contend with that. But they can buy a solution, and they have. After all, business is business. But all other owners should not worry as much. I'm sure you won't mind the wait, and if you don't, soon you will get the more complete version with all the DLC, just a little later than the X1 owners or even 360 owners. Yes, the cross-gen continues. And that rounds up Microsoft's show. It was their best showing since they started the X1 ride. It was confident and solid, although the lack of the promised Division on-stage live demo was very, very odd, and I would love to find out why and what caused this to happen. If you are an X1 owner though, I'm sure you should feel happy and content with a good lineup of games now and in the future. I know I'm looking forward to a lot of the stuff shown. Now on to Sony. Had it not been for Sony's show, Microsoft could have walked away with the Best of Show award. But I will set this up in all honesty. Sony had a laser focused show, and that was confident but not arrogant. It started games, it oozed games, and it ended games, and was all with no distraction at all about the laser focus, and that is PS4 and PS4 only. Announcing the as expected sales figure, the PS4 has now sold over 10 million units, a point stressed to consumers and not to retail. A little jibe at the green machine there. A truly remarkable showing and a testament to how right Sony got the PS4 and how they have stayed consistent with the push and drive to give the gamers what they want. It does hark back to the PS2 days of Sony, certainly in my book. Opening with the First Light, The Order 1886, Bloodborne and Little Big Planet 3 without even having anyone walk on stage. Says a lot. First Light offered up a showing of the new single-player DLC of Second Son, and again showed the beauty of the Sucker Punch engine with the same detailed and brilliantly animated facial models, particle and lighting system adding to the flamboyant visual flair. This being a prequel of sorts to the story in Second Son, and giving us a better induction and history on Fletch and how she came to be and meet Delsin. Being a digital only from August on PSN release, and then having a select retail release in certain territories in September. We then had the latest Order 1886 trailer, and boy oh boy it delivered. Still now it is top of the tree in next gen visuals, capturing the CG look so perfectly I keep forgetting at points I'm watching a real time game. This trailer showed far more of the diverse gameplay with the previous showings of horror, investigation and some shooting. We now get a view of the range of combat, including close quarter with standard melee action, along with stealth, range sniping and shotguns that seem to show off the soft body physics. As you can see here, the arm of the guy is blown off with a blast. With Nikola Tesla being the brains behind the tech, we again see the clever thinking of real history woven into the narrative that just blends in so well. Some of my favourite shots are the beginning view of the skyline of London as Galahad looks out from the headquarters, the knee fist takedown with old school Blighty long johns on, just showing the attention to detail in the game, with single wear being commonplace in games, and this time Ready at Dawn taking that into account. Also showing that come sleep or shine, the Order are ever ready. But this church shot is sublime. The lighting, the texture detail and the sheer scale and intricate detail is evident, is a shining example of the dedicated love and effort in this game. The anisotropic lighting on Galahad's hair as he walks into light, some of the best and most subtle facial capture as seen here, and the cunning and organised pack work of the half-breeds causing issues for the Order. Again, ending the demo is what looks to be Galahad having a bite taken out of it. I'll be doing a video soon on this and hopefully more content that comes from the show floor of the event. But already you can see the IQ improvements in the AA solution, with not only the reticle and hood missing from the in-game shots here, but also the shimmering on the specular map on Metal Object has all but been removed. And as I said before, this will be the cleanest game this gen so far. Now on to yet another big game revealed at the start, Bloodborne. Comes in with weights of filling the shoes of its predecessor Demon Souls, and it seems to be more than up for it. The trailer was brief, but again enough to get us excited. Both animation, lighting, textures and particles are all of a very high standard. You can see detailed normal maps on the cobbled streets, with suspected parallax occlusion mapping in effect with additional geometry as well. The werewolf, zombies all look and move with vivid detail and subtlety that is only bettered by the protagonist. His flowing cape, huge sickle and shotgun, he is a true badass. Combat seems to be a case of attack, dodge and multiple enemies at once, but this does not leave out the huge boss battles, with a giant skeleton werewolf with flowing mane and savage features getting the better of you at the end of the trailer. Not before gutting and shotgun explosion of Franka Zombie. Both motion blur and doff are employed well in the game, with the ambient lighting from torches aided by the gothic and atmospheric design. The style and the setting make this a game that just begs to be played. The good news is that within 6 months from now all these games will be in our hands, which is a comforting thought for sure. it's just a long wait, and with a rumoured 1 hour behind doors demo footage yet to come out, we may yet get to see a lot more of the stunner before the week's out. On top of this, Sony also used the event to hit us with news on the autumn software update that adds many features to the PS4 suite, something that Microsoft have been doing on the X1 slowly but surely throughout its life cycle. Adding not only the ability to allow friends to play your game or even play the game for free without owning or downloading it is a great feature from the reveal that I think speaks for itself. You need PSN Plus to have this, but that's not unexpected. On top of this, the brilliant PS Now feature has now been given a UK date of 2015, which is a bit vague, but at least we've got an idea, and other than the needs to be fixed expensive pricing, this is a good feature that allows gamers to play the back catalogue of PS3, PS2 and PS1 games. I would imagine other features will be added to the update, most likely the option to add folders for games and maybe a reduction in the memory footprint of the operating system, which can be levelled back to games.
Media Molecule turned up and showed off their brand new IP, which wasn't that brand new. In fact, it was the PS4 version of Tearaway, which has been updated and changed to take full advantage of the DS4, and some of the features and functions of the game were very interesting and very intriguing, which you can see behind you. All in all, it was a very good showing for Media Molecule, and the excitement oozes through. Then they went on the indie run as expected, and hit us with a good selection of console-first exclusives. But the changes is they merged indie with AA games, so the distinction between the two was removed. And this was a good move and an understandable one. A huge array of first-party games cannot continue, and just like No Man's Sky, which was not shown here, some of the indie games on a technical level seemed anything but. Tomorrow's Children was a great looking and fresh game that had a simple visual style but delivered in such a way it would not look out of place as a Tim Burton animated movie. It truly looked stunning at points, with great use of doth with solid animation, and to mirror all the imagination has been removed, a blank canvas environment with the toy-like characters really was a highlight for me. But this was not how Sony left it. They then hit with the exciting and fresh looking The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which looks like a fresh reinvention of the investigative horror genre. But we also got to see more of Ryan, which was again a big highlight of the show, having the feel of not only Zelda but the Wind Waker merged with Ico, also capturing the innocence and beauty of the best manga movies. The sci-fi podwalk and detailed cell shading world with the great lighting system and hand-drawn type animations gave the game its own unique and exciting feel. A feeling that only makes me excited to see more and play, but also bled more into the games that Sony showed. One of which again, Sony themselves are publishing, and showing not only that they have a first party lineup that rivals Nintendo, and some would say betters, but shows that they are not afraid to invest in new, fresh and innovative ideas. Shown best with the new game from Rayman inventor The Wild, which was a stunning looking open world game that is set sometime in the BC era. Being able to play as a human or indeed any of the diverse and detailed creatures in the game, from wolves, sheep, giant women and skeletons to humongous carp. Hunt, explore, travel and befriend in this amazing detailed world. They even had time to nod at The Last of Us with the snowbow hunting scene. Well, possibly. Visually this game runs many games hard, with detailed grass, foliage and lighting that is clean and certainly looks to hold its own against most other games on stage. These range from the new Housemarque game Alienation, which looked visually very nice with lots of destruction and laser effects and particle effects, and it has a feeling of the Team 17 classic Alien Breed, with you able to go team play or rogue. We had other indie and first party games announced, and then we moved on to the non-surprise of Until Dawn, a 2-year-old PS3 game integrated with Move. It's a survival horror game now moved to the PS4 using the Shadowfall engine, which looks lovely in places. This follows the standard teen movie where a bunch of kids spend a night in a spooky deserted shack in the freezing snow, and then some masked loon decides to bump you all off one by one. You have to investigate and survive till dawn while saving your friends, yourself and stopping the killer. So think Saw without the puppet. Again, showing the breadth of game styles Sony are hitting with the PS4. There was a lot of games. Drive Club had a good stage demo, and the visual and social aspect was explained with the dynamic weather and global illumination system being the highlight of the demo. This really is at points where you could confuse this game with a GoPro onboard race footage. A seriously impressive game, and one I hope will be a big seller to allow Evolution to continue making games with the intricate attention to detail and sheer passion that they have. We had a vast selection of games from Sony's first party, with a great montage of indie and AAA work, along with a third party selection of the same. Far Cry 4 spearheads the free-to-play option even when you don't own the game, and from the CG-looking visual splendour of The Order that opened, to the computer-generated animated movie look The Wild that closed, Sony managed to show a very wide, diverse selection of games, both with partnerships and publishing. It really was a great show.
EA also had their event, and this was in my opinion very underwhelming. We opened with Dragon's Age, which looks solid, then too long on The Sims in my opinion, followed by the obvious FIFA 15 segment and a rehash of the Knights of the Old Republic, which led us onto the new game announcement from the trailers, a PC only online RPG, Shadowlands, which for me was a huge disappointment. Not only in that it did not feel as fresh as expected, but it feels like more of the same from BioWare. I know I may get a lot of hate for this, but it did not entice me. Both story and visuals felt bland, and it just seemed to portray the path that EA are taking very quickly, and that is as an online service you subscribe. With the Xbox Vault now up and the push for old free-to-play games and now this new franchise, it seems that EA have taken a stance that a monthly sub-service and download will suffice. Keep the content updated episodically, or if the sub's not paid, it is a no play, or at least microtransactions with the game. See FIFA World that they also pushed here. The only decent surprise was the demo of Hardline single player, and the fact that it looked at least like Visceral have a chance to add some story and tension to the game. Some of the stealth action was a bit cliche and the characters were a little by the numbers, but maybe this single player will have more depth than the Battlefield single player campaign. A feat that should not be too hard. Sorry DICE. But again, it rounded out a pretty much generic and for me at least not an exciting show. I held off this video a day to see if there was much else to see after these shows. We've seen a little more on AC Unity on PC, which demonstrates the big push to next gen visually, and it shows how much the steps have been made. The game looks visually very nice with lots of detail on the textures, the animation. You can see here from the PC version there's no huge improvements in terms of tessellation. Look at his nose as he's talking. But certainly the facial detail and animation is a big step up from Black Flag, with the crowd density being a very impressive feat with far more improved combat, stealth and parkour, making the game seem far more flowing and smooth. We also had a chance to see The Witcher 3 as you see playing here in some glorious 1080-30 PC footage. And the new Buzz creature it seems after the Order with werewolves making an appearance. The game looks near complete with obviously the last few months tweaking, bug fixing and optimising the experience for all, and I'm sure it will be on X1, PS4 or PC one hell of a ride. There does seem to be some frame rate issues in this video, and this is from the PC version, so there's definitely some optimisation work to be done, but we've still got around 6 months to wait. I'll be doing some detailed info on the game shown here over the next week or so please stay tuned and hopefully you'll find some of them interesting. I'll leave you with this demo to play out if you have not seen it. I hope you enjoyed this or my other content. If so, please subscribe as it helps me out immensely, and I really appreciate each and every one of you that does and watches my videos. Like, comment below as you feel appropriate, and I love to hear your comments from all you guys. Anyway, you guys and girls take care, and I will see you soon on the next one.
Folks sleepwalk from their homes, never to return. Under the tree on the Whispering Hillock they lie, unburied all, fathers, sons, daughters and mothers. Folk are afeard to move them. You must go there. The dark powers must be cast off.
I'll look around the Whispering Hillock.
You be careful, Master Witcher. Don't you treat this evil light.
Claw marks. Wolves. I should look around.
The powers that protect me, they sense whence you come.
Who are you?
Be gone! Be gone! Be gone! The powers will not